Hey guys, hope you're doing good. In this video, we are going to learn about operator overloading. Now, operator overloading means giving some special meaning to an operator. Let me give a small example. For example, I have a variable called as a which is holding 10 and then b which is holding 20. Now, if I want to add these two values, I can just say a plus b. That's it, right? So, I'm just adding two values with the help of the operator plus. Right, I am using the operator plus to add the two values which are there in the variable a and b. Now I am getting 30. Now if I want, I can also give the values directly, the constants directly, and then add it. So that is also possible, right? So operator can be used on either on values directly, on variables, or on variables which is having some value in that. Now if I say I have a class like that, class sample, let me have nothing inside the class as of now, and then say obj1 assign sample, that is I'm creating an object here, and let me create two objects, and then let me say obj, or I can just try to say print obj1 plus obj2. But when I do this, I'm trying to add these two objects, which is not possible directly, right? As of now, we have seen, right, adding two values, right, or two variables, right, just having some values. Now, if I try to do this directly on an object, let us see what's happening. I'm getting an error, right? You can see that unsupported operator type plus sample. So which means that I cannot add two objects because these are not values, right? These are objects which contain some value inside that, or contain a group of data which is present inside that. So which is not possible directly. To make this happen, we are going to use something called as operator overloading, right? So let me give you what are the operators that can be overloaded before starting the session. Now, these are the operators that can be overloaded. Now, arithmetic operator overloading. So these are the operators that can be overloaded. So we need to use Dunder methods to achieve this operator overloading, right? So if at all you have not know what is, you don't know what is Dunder methods, I've given the link in the description. I've given a detailed explanation of what is Dunder method in my video, right? Now this, when I overload plus operator, if at all like I'm using this plus operator in between two objects, I may need to use the Dunder method add to achieve that, right? So like that, for every operator there are Dunder methods associated with that. Okay, so these are arithmetic operator overloading, for which I'll be using these Dunder methods. Now these are assignment arithmetic operator, that is plus assign, minus assign. For that I'll be using these Dunder methods. Okay, and we can also use conditional operators like greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, between objects. For that we'll be using these Dunder methods, hyphen gt, hyphen lt, ge, le, like that, right? And we can also use bitwise operators like and, bitwise and, bitwise or, bitwise XOR, left shift and right shift. For this we'll be using these Dunder methods. Now let me explain you how to do this with some example. Okay. Now let me write a program to find the addition of two complex numbers. Now let me tell you what should I do here. Let me create an object first. Let me say complex, and then say C2 complex. Now when I do this, two objects will be created, C1 and C2. So once the object is created, immediately the init method will be called, and that will be initialized. I'm creating two variables, real and imaginary, and then I'm initializing those to 0. So two variables are created for objects C1 and C2. As of now, both are initially 0. Now after that, if I want to get input, let me use the get method, or let me make it a set val, right? And then I'll say c1 dot set val, I'm calling the method, and then say c2 dot set val, I'm calling the method as well, right? So I'm calling the method with the help of objects C1 and C2. So now for the object C1, it calls this set val method, getting input for real and imaginary. For object C2, again calling the set method, initializing the or getting input for real and imaginary. Right. Now let me call the comp add method. Now what I'm doing here, that is what I'm going to explain you. So let me say C3 assign C1 dot, I'll say comp add C2. Now as of now we have seen that we are calling the method with the help of object. Now we are going to call the method with the help of object, and we are passing one more object. Now as we have seen in the previous videos, right, whenever a method is called with the help of object, the calling object will be passed internally to the object self. Now I'm passing one more object, so let me have one more object called as parameter object called as other. Now here the self and other are not keywords, don't confuse guys, right? It is just for naming convention what I've used here. Now what is going to happen here is self is going to hold the object C1 and other is going to hold the object C2. Now these are just like parameters that is going to hold the argument that I'm going to pass from here. So internally the calling object will be passed, that is going to get stored in self. I am passing explicitly the object C2 that is going to get stored in others. Now when I come here, I'm creating one more object called as temp. So now when I create an object, immediately init method will be called, and two variables will be created, real and imaginary, that will be initialized to 0. Now again I come here, I say self.real. So when I say self.real, what will happen? Object C1's real value, that whatever I get from here, that will be stored here, right? And then object C2's real value, I'm adding both and I'm storing it in the third object, and doing the same thing here for imaginary. And then finally I'm returning the object temp. So when the object temp is returned, that is getting stored in the object C3. So my data is there in C3. Now I'll say C3.disp. Now this disp function is going to help me in printing the values in real and imaginary way, right? So let me run this code for you so that you can understand easily, right? Let me say 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when I say 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2 is for the object C1, right? Real part and imaginary part. So object C1's real part as of now, let me put it here. Objects C1's real value is 1 now, and again object C1's real value is, imaginary value is 2, right? So that is what's stored here. Now when I call the get method again using the object C2, right, that is what I'm doing here, right? I'm calling the get set val method with the help of object C2, right? So now it goes here, calls the method. Now for object C2, the real value is 3, and then for object C2 the imaginary value is 4, right? This is what the input I'm getting, right? I'm getting the input here for this. Now next step, what I'm doing after completing this process, right, I'm just calling the method comp add. So when I call the method comp add, it comes here, self will be holding C1, right? I'll just put this down. Okay, now when I call the method comp add, C1 will be passed to self and C2 will be passed to others. When it comes here, self.real. So what is self.real? Self.real, what for the C1 object is 1. So it will be 1, that is C1 objects real. So C1 objects real is 1 now. I'll directly put here 1 plus other.real. So others real is, right, C2's real, that is 3. That will be added. So that will be added and stored in temp.real, that is 4. So now these values will be added and stored in the temp.real, that is 4, right? So 1 plus 2 will be added and stored in temp.real. Now temp.real will be 4. The same way I'm doing the same process, that is 1 plus 2 has been added, 1 plus 3 has been added. Now 2 plus 4 will be added, that will become 6. So that is what we are getting here in temp. So temp will become temp's real, right? As of now, let me put here, temp's real value is 4 and imaginary value will be 6. Hope you got it, guys, right? So temp's real value becomes 2 plus 1 plus 2 3, right? 1 plus 3 4, and 2 plus 4 will be 6. That is what happening here. I am adding the real part of C1 object and C2 object, and imaginary part of C1 object and C2 object. Now finally I am returning temp. So the returned value will be stored in C3. Now C3's real will be 4 and imaginary will be 6. So when I call the method disp using object C3, it goes here, and then self.real, that is 4, plus self.imaginary 6, and I'm printing J. So it prints just like that, as if I'm adding two real and imaginary values. Hope you got it, guys. Right? If the same program, if I want to do it with the help of operator overloading, now I'll be just making a change here, right? So I'll not be using this anymore. Now let me make a change here. I'll not use the method there. So instead, I'm going to give an impression to the user that I'm going to add two objects. So adding two objects is directly not possible. Now, what should I do for that? As we have seen previously, I've shown you something, right? The same method, the Dunder method, I need to use it. I'll say def underscore underscore add underscore underscore, and I'm going to get two. One is self, another one is other. Same thing, right? So instead of like comp add method, I'm going to use the Dunder method, right? So I'm just going to use the Dunder method. Let me remove this. That's just for your understanding I've given there. Let me remove this for you. Right. So now here same, C1 will be stored in self, and let me remove this. Right. So C1 plus C2. Now this can be, right, internally seen like this. I'll say C1 dot, I'm calling the Dunder method add, right, and I'm passing C2. This is how it is internally works. Now when I say C1 plus C2, it is internally C1 dot, I'm calling the Dunder method add, and I'm passing C2. Now what happens? C1 will be passed to self and C2 will be passed to others, and do the process, finally return back the temp to C3. Now this is how you use the Dunder method, or the operator overloading Dunder method. Got it, guys? So I'll repeat again. When I say C1 plus C2, it is actually calling the add Dunder method. It is not adding, right? So it calls the add Dunder method like this. C1 will be passed internally to self, and C2 will be passed explicitly to others, and do the work and complete my process. So let me run this code for you so that you can understand this. Let me clear the screen for you and run the code for you. Oops. Okay, I missed a colon there. The syntax, just a syntax error. Let me run this again for you. So it's asking for input. I'll say 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now 1 and 2 will be added. You are getting, 1 and 3 will be added. The real and real of object 1 and object 2 will be added, and you're getting 4. The imaginary part will get added, and you're getting 6. Got it, guys? As of now, we were getting input as integer. Now let us see like how to get input directly as complex. Right. Let me change this. It's also not required for me. I'm going to get directly complex number. Let me say it as comp, and here I say comp assign input. So whatever input I'm going to get, I'm going to convert it as complex number with the help of the method complex. So whatever input that I'm going to get, that's going to get converted as complex number. Okay. Now here it is not required for me to do all these complex things, right? I can do is very simple. I'll say comp assign, I'll say self.comp plus others.comp, and then this is not required. I'll return temp. Okay, and here I can just say print self.comp. So this plus j and all, it itself will take, right? What I'm doing here, okay, So everything is perfect. Is anything left out? No, this is not required for me. Let me take this out. We'll have a clear picture then. So let me close this for you. So what I'm doing here is I'm calling the I'm creating an object. So when I create an object, immediately init method will be called, and there I have a variable called as comp, initializing it to 0. Again, C2 object, comp initialized to 0, and setval, I'm calling the setval twice to get complex number values, and then I'm adding it with the help of operator overloading with the help of Dunder method add. Right. So let me run this code for you. First, let me save this and then run the code for you. So here I can say 1 plus 2j and then 3 plus 4j. So you can see that I'm giving the input directly as a complex number only, right? I'm getting this number as a complex number. Oops, I missed one thing, right? I forgot to give self there, right? So many people tend to do this, right? Whenever we do something, we always forget to give this self, right? Self dot, right? It's must that you should not forget it, right? If you forget, then it becomes a local variable, right? So when I try to do it with the local variable, I cannot use it in other places. Only in that function or only in that method I can use it, right? So let me run this again for you. So let me give the first input 1 plus 2j and then say 3 plus 4j. So when I do this, you will be getting 4 plus 6j. It's just a complex number directly what I'm getting, right? So let me just pull this down. Got it? So you're doing a complex number, getting the complex number input directly with the help of complex method. So this input, whatever I'm getting, that will be converted as complex number. Okay. So make sure that you're giving in the same format, one value plus another value j, right? So it should be in the same format, 1 plus 2j, or else it will not get converted to a complex number. Okay. You will be getting some error. So make sure that when you're typecasting your input as complex, make sure that you're giving the input in the complex number format only. Got it, guys? Okay, let me give you one more example, just to use less than and greater than, right? Let me say class string. Let me have a class called a string, and let me create an init method, self dot str1. So let me try to get the input directly here itself. Okay, input, and then say here, let me create two objects. Let us say s1 string and then s2 string, right? So when I do this, I know that I'm going to get only string in this, right? I'm going to get string here as input in my program, right? Now if I want to compare these two strings, which string is bigger, right? Which string is bigger? I'll say s1 less than s2, which is not directly possible because s1 and s2 are objects, but I want this to happen. So let us see what will we do, what shall we do for that, right? And here I can say s1 dot str1 is smaller than s2 dot str1. Got it? Okay. Now here I can say elif s2, I can say s1 greater than s2, and I can just print. Same process here. Okay. And then finally I'll say else same as s2, right? So s1 object is same as s2 object. Now when I say s1 less than or s1 greater than, that is like I'm creating an object and then I'm trying to compare the object with the comparison operator, which is not possible directly. For that you need to use a Dunder method, right? So let me tell you what are the Dunder methods that we can use, right? We can use Dunder method like less than or greater than. So find the less than, I'll say lt, right? I'll say self, how many objects that I'm getting passed, like s1 and s2. So I'll say self comma others. So I'll say self comma others, right? So I'll say self comma others. 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 So I'll say self comma oth or I'll say other, right? And here I can, here internally I need to do it, right? So I'm just giving an impression that I'm comparing two objects, but it is not happening. I have to do it manually there. How will I do it? I'll say self dot str1 less than other dot str1. So this is how I do it, right? I cannot do it directly. I'll say return true. And one more method is there. What is that? Greater than. I'll say hyphen gt. I'll say self comma other. I'll do the same process here. Let me copy this and paste it here. I'll say greater than, right? So now whenever s1 less than s2, when the flow comes here, right, s1 less than s2, when this has hit, it will immediately like call the alt Dunder method, right? So alt Dunder method will be called and the process will happen here. I'm checking for the strings directly here, whether it is less or not, and then passing true, then it will be printed. If this is not, if this condition fails, right, if I'm not passing true, the condition will be failed, right? So when the condition fails, it will go to this elif, and then I am checking for s1 greater than s2. When s1 greater than s2 is hit, it will go and call the gt Dunder method, and then do the process, and then returns true or false, depends on the value, right? So if nothing is there, it will return none. If I say true, true will be written. If nothing is there, it will return none. So if nothing is there, it will go to the else part and then print same. Now let me run this code for you. Let me give two strings, Samuel and Edison. So this is going to print Samuel is bigger than Edison, because like alphabetical order, like as per alphabetical order, S is bigger than E. Now let me run this code again for you. Let me say Edison and Samuel. Now it will say Edison is smaller than Samuel, right? So okay, let me run it again and give same values. Let me give Samuel and Samuel. So it's saying Samuel is same as Samuel. So this is how you use operator overloading. So this operator overloading, like whatever you do here, make sure that you are giving the proper Dunder method here to access the process. When I say less than, greater than, I'll be using lt, gt, less than, equal to means leg, like you can see it here, right? So this is how you use it. So if I've given an example for plus, you can do other things as well, right? Whatever you want to do, you can do other things as well. And if I want less, I've given less than and greater than, you can try to do all these stuffs. It's very simple, like nothing big. Like operator overloading is as simple as that, right? People think that operator overloading is very difficult. Nothing. It makes the process much simpler, right? So if I just give an impression that I am doing something on the object, but I am going and doing it internally, that's all. So whenever you are using any operator on objects, please try to use the specific Dunder method for that, so that you will never get any problem. Fine, got it, guys? Okay, I'm done with this video, guys. If you have any doubts or queries, please comment in the comment section. I'll definitely get back to you. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.